Hi guys, welcome back to T.N.T. Garage. Today we're gonna go a little different path because I have a project I've been wanting to get done for a very long time, and that is this old trailer. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna punch a few more lights in it, and we're also gonna put sides, front, and back on it that can be removable. So let's get to it. Now, one of the most important parts is making sure you do your math before you go get your materials. So I know that that trailer is 12 foot long and the width of the trailer is 6 foot 4 inches. So we know we need 6 12-foot boards for either side if we do 3 stringers. And then that's our first 6 12-foot boards. Now, since the trailer is 6 feet 4 inches wide, you can't get a board that's 6'4" unless it's custom cut, and then you're wasting a bunch of money. So instead of getting an 8-foot or a 10-foot board, what I'm gonna do is get 6 more 12-foot 2x4s. And once I cut to length the 6'4", I will have 5 feet 8-inch boards left. So we'll have 6 5'8" 2x4s. What we're gonna do with that is we're gonna chop them in half, which should be 2 foot 10 inches. So I'll have 12 of those, and those will be my uprights. So you'll have 4 uprights on each side and 2 front and rear. So that'll be our 12. So we can have the entire set of sides done with just 12 2x4s and not waste a single piece of wood. And have no scraps, no leftovers. Be nice, clean cut, ready to go. So, like I said, just make sure to do your math before you go to get your materials. And of course, we'll get stake pocket brackets to go on the side of the trailer, a few more lights, and all the fasteners we need. So, I'm going to run to the local Menards, get that stuff, and we'll meet right back here in the garage. Well, we got our materials. The only unfortunate part is it's about to rain, so I guess we're going to drop this E28 down, get it on its rollers, and we'll shove it outside for this project. Well, we got the car outside. Those dollies are the best thing I ever had picked up for me. So we threw the hood on the car just because it's raining. We don't want anything to go down the intake or anything like that. But she could use a bath anyway. She's getting pretty dusty. So let's get to work on the trailer. We'll get the boards off. We'll start measuring them, cutting them, and we'll get all my hardware laid out. All right. Well, we got everything set up. So we're going to take 6 boards, which be these over here, and we're going to rip them down, well, not rip them, but chop them down to 6 feet and 4 inches. Now this is why you take notes, because I almost forgot what that measurement was, but good thing I wrote it down. So grab your tape measure and some way to mark your board. 6'4". There we go. Right there. I always try to make a couple of marks on them. That way when I go to draw my line across, we should be somewhere in the ballpark. So 6'4" on that one. And we'll just go ahead and mark all the top boards. That way I don't have to do that much work. 6'4". Oh. 6'4". Come on, there we go. All right. One more board. There we go. Okay, we got our 6'4" boards cut down. Now we can go ahead and blow these in half, which should be 2 foot 10 inches. Now, same principle. Whenever you're using a skill saw, just watch for a kickback. Sometimes the board can pinch. Throw the saw back at you. So you really want to try and balance everything as best you can. Oh. Of course, I should be wearing safety glasses, but I got the old squint eyes going, so 2 foot 10 right there. Just to verify our measurement that it's actually half the board. It's, well, no. No, let's see, we got 5'9". These boards are just a touch longer than 12 feet, so we're gonna go dead in the middle, which should be about 2 foot 10 and a half. And that's what we'll go with. Just to verify my measurement down here. That's 6'4". So they are just a touch longer than 12 feet. Because I should have a board that's, well, 5 foot 8 inches, and we're actually almost 5'9". So we're gonna do each and every one of these right around that 10 and a half mark, which would be about dead even. So let's continue ripping through these. Now that we got all our boards cut, we have these brackets here that we can bolt to the chassis. But first thing we have to do is see what kind of depth we're gonna have on our 2 foot 10 and a half inch section board. So from the bottom of the frame to the top of our deck is 6 inches. So we're gonna lay our lowermost board right on top of the deck. So if we run 6 inches of board below that, that'll give us 2 feet and 4 inches of height above the deck. So we'll put you down, we'll see how that looks, and then we'll start laying out our sides. We'll just take our board, basically line it up with the bottom of the frame and see how much side height you have. Now, I think that's plenty adequate for putting removable sides on a trailer. You don't need them too high, especially if you're not going to haul very tall things or a lot of stuff. Good for lawnmowers, four-wheelers, stuff like that, and not to be a parachute behind your pickup or car or whatever you pull it with. So let's get some of this kind of out of our way. We'll put our 4 pieces on the bench here, and we'll start laying out our sides. Okay. I got them basically where I want them. Now I just need to measure where I'm going to put each upright, because unfortunately, everywhere I looked, only one place had these pockets that bolt flat to the frame to go ahead and drop a 2x4 in without being too loose and being robust enough to not bend. So we're gonna do 3 per side, and this is kind of a wonky axle arrangement. So we need to measure, of course we're gonna put one at the front on each side. So you wanna measure your actual bracket and see where this part of the flange is going to go in relation to where the 2x4 is going to drop. In this case, we're looking at about 1 3/8 inches. So if we put it at the front of the trailer, probably what I'm going to want to do is bring it back a couple inches. So if we go to the front and you pick just kind of a spot, and this will be your starting point. So if I put these 4 inches back of the front, that gives me a measurement to drop my board at 5 3/8. So, like the drill goes, we're going to write it down on our notepad. So 5 3/8 inches where our 2x4, the leading edge, will fall. 5 3/8 inch from front at a 4-inch mounting position from the leading edge to the front of the trailer. Now, we can go ahead and start lining up and marking our boards for our first upright. So we're going to lay it out 5 3/8 inch. That's why you write it down. So 5 3/8 is going to be where our board falls behind. It'll be the leading edge. So we're going to go ahead and mark each one 5 3/8 and 5 3/8. Now, knowing that the bottom of our board is going to drop 6 inches into the frame of the trailer, which always double check your measurement, 6 inches, we can go ahead and set this up. So we'll just lay our board out. We'll mark 6 inches from the bottom of the upright. And then take the remaining measurement so we could set up where each board can go. So we're at 28.5, which we'll just write it on here. So if we put the top board at the very top and the bottom board at the deck surface, we can make our difference in measurement and go ahead and start attaching our boards. So, probably the simplest way to do this is to go ahead and lay your uprights on the boards going down and screw them down. But I'm not going to do that quite yet, because we now need to measure if the leading edge of this bracket is 5 3/8. I know you guys can't see this, but just imagine with me. So if we're at 5 3/8, that puts the rear of our bracket at 12 inches. So, okay. Just doing some small measurements. We'll bring the bracket with me because there's a wheel opening on this trailer. So, if we put the next bracket at 5 foot 5 inches, the leading edge of the board will fall at 66 3/8. So again, write that down. If you can find your pen. You ever have that happen? You just set something down and then you can't find it? We're going to take a short commercial break while I find my pen, and we'll be right back. Oh, there it is. Okay, and we're back. So the leading edge of our next board is going to be 66 3/8 from the front. So Bring her back. That'll be the leading edge of our next board. And we'll go ahead and mark those measurements on each corresponding board. 66 3/8. Come on. And then 66 3/8. There we go. So what I'm going to do is mount the first two boards on this bottom one. And the reason being is I want this to look somewhat even. So we're going to have the same gap between these two and in the back if at all possible. So we'll grab our stringer, square it up. There's our mark for 6 inches. And we're just going to run a single screw into it because I plan on bolting these. Now, our gap between these two boards is going to be about 57 inches. So, if we go 57 inches back, we will have a board, about 18 inches from the rear of the trailer. Which, I suppose would work. 18 inches probably isn't going to make a whole lot of difference, but I think we'll just push it back and say the hell with having it symmetrical and just make it work. I can always add another board when I find more brackets. So let's carry on to where we're going to start putting our top board up here. Our center board down here is I measured the gap between our upper and lower board on the inside. That turned out to be 21.5 inches. So half of 21.5 would be 10 3/4. So I marked each upright at 10 3/4 and centered the board underneath it. Now, since everything was measured correctly, I think, we can now measure for square and put a couple more screws in it to hold it square before we bolt everything solid. So if we go from the corner of one of our uprights to the corner of the bottom, we're just a touch over 129 3/4 inches. Now if we do the same thing this way, go ahead and hook the corner. We are just a touch over that. So, we're at about 130 inches. And 130 inches, give or take about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and slam a couple screws in the corners to keep this from moving around too much when we handle it and get out of square and just frankly look like crap. Now we should have a fairly rigid, side for our trailer. Yeah, you can't shake it any, so basically how this is going to work once I show you guys how I put the pockets on is it's just going to slide down in the pockets and set right on the deck of the trailer. So that should work out very nicely to where they're not going to jump around or shake around too much if they're using the trailer itself as its own support. And seeing as they're perfectly balanced, I'm not holding it up at all. I kind of like that. Now make sure you get the cheapest lumber you can so it looks like absolute crap. Which, these days, cheap lumber, well, you could distill gas down into a solid to make building materials, and you'll probably wind up at the same price. So I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to build the other side. We're going to build the front back, and we're going to put the brackets on. So we're going to go ahead and jump through the other side real quick, get that done, and then we'll go to the front back and get the pockets. Sides made. Now we're going to start with the brackets because I want to be able to drop these in the brackets before we do our final cuts and measurements for the front and rear gates. So we'll grab one of these, and we know our measurement from the front of the trailer to the leading edge of the bracket is going to be 4 inches. So you just basically want to locate it wherever you want depth wise. I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch from the top of the frame before it reaches the board, and then 4 inches back. So we'll go ahead and mark at 4 inches, which actually I'll grab a marker, that might work a little better. Oh, look at there, I actually do have a Sharpie. So, and it works even. All right. So we're going to mark 4 inches from the front, and then we're going to come down, probably should do 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 and 3/4. Now, we can go ahead and locate our mount and just mark where our bolt holes are going to go, because we're going to have to do a little bit of drilling. So there's 1, there's 2. So basically start at the front of the trailer, we'll punch the holes through it quick, and we'll go ahead and measure for this one here and for the one in the back and do the same thing. So let's kick the music back on, grab our drill bits, and let's keep at it. Okay, now, if you really want to make this easy, where you really don't have to measure, you can go ahead and grab the side. Once you got your first pocket in, step over it. We'll go ahead and drop it. There we go. That's the beauty of that. Is now we really don't have to measure because we have it sitting here. We can throw the pockets at it, drill the holes, and I've got my corded, I guess, drill out, because that's got my step bit in it, because I do have to open up the holes in the brackets a little bit. But same thing as before, measure 3/4 inch down, mark it, drill your holes, and we will hammer along. Well, there we go. We got our brackets on. We just need to tighten them up. We're going to do the same thing on this side, and then we know our absolute distance and everything. And just to make it super fancy, I might just bevel cut these to make everything fit together real nice. But first things first, we'll get this side set up, get the brackets on, and then we can work on the rear and the front. So let's get at it. Well, now we got both sides on. I actually came back, and I lied, we do have a little bit of waste, but I came back and trimmed all these boards so when we make our gate, it'll fit tight, not push back. Same thing in the front. Went ahead and cut them so it'll sit nice and flush, not be pushed out, not be pushed in. So we're going to go ahead and assemble our front and rear gates real quick, which since you guys have seen the process, we'll just blow through that. And we'll get our brackets on, and then we could start on the lights. Well, we got our front and rear gates done. Now it's just a matter of putting those brackets on the front, which this, I don't know if you guys could see that, it's about the luckiest I've ever gotten in my life. I didn't even think to measure the width of the tongue before assembling these, and it fits just about perfect. I'm actually gonna have to bend the bracket to make it work, just bend the side so I can mount it there, but that is a whole lot of luck. So once everything lines up, it should be pretty freaking close, considering these are kind of gonna weeble wobble because the deck actually curves down a little bit. So the way we're going to secure this to put that on so I don't have to measure because my brain's getting tired is, and it's the same way we're going to secure the gates, is we're going to take these things. They're just simple flip and locks, and I got a bunch of, to put through them, things. So we're going to put these on, flip them over to the front, and then we can secure that, get the pockets in, do a little bending, and get these mounted. To get those brackets to fit in, honestly, the best way to do it is just cut the flange off and weld it to the tongue. And I don't want to do that right now. So I'm just going to drill a 5/16 hole through this 2x4, through the frame, and bolt the front on. Because how many times do you really need to take the front off? So we'll do that. I'll do 2 bolts. Luckily, I picked up a pile of these 5/16 carriage bolts. So we'll just run 2 holes in each upright and we'll pound them in. So let's continue. All right, so now to install these lights, you just simply need to drill a 3/4 inch hole. And what I started with is my 5/16 bit and use my 3/4 step bit. So you run it all the way through, and that's where these grommets come in. So I'm going to try to do this one-handed. You want to slide the grommet over the wires. Come on. Come on. All right, there we go. Of course, stuff your wires through the hole. And then get your grommet set. Make sure it's nice and even. And then simply work the light through the grommet. And there you go. A nice clean light install. And these little buggers are pretty bright, which you guys will see once I get all the lights in, get all the holes punched, and work with this disaster catastrophe that's up here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these lights in, and then we'll move you to the back, and we'll do a time lapse of me punching the holes, throwing new lights in, and we'll wire her up. Okay, well, we got our wires, our pliers, our crimpers. These are the nice ones, the ratchet ones, and our connectors. So I'm going to jump underneath this, throw some new wires at it, and we'll see it lit up soon.
In the sky, dreams are coming true. A magic place where you can count the stars. Just lay down in the middle of the night, look up to the sky. Tennessee skyline. Johnny boy, you got your boots back on, kicking dust in a new direction. Johnny boy, you built a house of love upon the hills of Tennessee, yeah, where hummingbirds are flying in the sky. Dreams are coming.
Well, now that we've made a particularly large mess, we've got our lights wired up. I told you them little buggers are bright. We got them up on the corners, on both sides. We got all our sides done. All we got to do, move some stuff. We'll pull the trailer out, clean up the garage, and we'll do our final closing thoughts. I guess that's how these videos work. Well, the garage is all cleaned out. Got the Camaro pushed over so we can jam that back into the garage. But I think this came out pretty good. I always love the lights in the night. I think she did pretty decent. So that's our night shot of it, and we'll be back with you in a second. Well, now that we got her all done, we got the Camaro back in the garage, which, by the way, this is not an easy car to push uphill on a rough driveway on wheel casters. Not fun. Anyway, we got the car back in. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video of just something different, putting the sides on the trailer, putting a few more lights on it. This brings new utility to this old trailer, which at one point started life as a mid-70s, early 80s, 12-foot Viking pop-up camper. Now, I'm not one to tear apart a pop-up camper just to make a trailer out of it. And I'd never do it, but this camper was already junk when I got it from my dad. And I knocked the sides off and I redecked it, and then I did an axle flip to get it up higher. So now we brought this trailer into something a little more usable than a flatbed where you got to strap everything down. For a couple $100 worth of materials and probably all said and done 3.5 hours worth of work, or about 7 beers. So there you go, guys. If you want to try this stuff at home, just follow along. Just make sure you do your measurements, make sure you get your materials that you need, and there you go. You'll have something useful. Now, this isn't quite as useful as a snowmobile trailer because those are a lot wider. And if there's anything you need to know about this trailer or myself, it's not long, but it's thin. So you guys have a great night. Thanks again for watching. Like, share, subscribe this video or to this channel. And you can find me at T.N.T. Garage on Facebook, at T.N.T. _garage on Instagram. And we will see you next time with an update on the square body.